Good evening, good Shabbat Shalom to everyone. Tonight at KLS, I, Rebekka, Wedell, am co-leading the service with our KLS member, long-standing member, Jenny Woolfe, also a member of the choir. Jenny and I would like to welcome everyone who's here tonight with us in the shul. It's wonderful to be together. And all of you out there who are joining us via live stream in London, in the UK, and beyond. Now, I know that normally René has his phone. Oh, has his phone. Well, he's able to greet people who are coming from further afield, but unfortunately I haven't got that. So just to say it's a really big welcome to everybody from wherever you are. It's so nice. Tonight's service is the monthly Choral Erev service, Shabbat service, and our focus tonight is the marking of the Holocaust Memorial Day, the national civic event that falls each year on January the 27th, which was yesterday, to mark the liberation of Auschwitz. Traditionally, the choir, at least for some years now, the choir and I have been contributing to the Kingston civic HMD event, and that brings together different communities, for example, from Bosnia and Darfur, to share a better understand each other's experiences. But this year, sadly, it was not able to run. So we brought it to KLS this year. Okay, so over to Jenny now, who would like to raise
something a bit up to date, really. I mean, we always say, after the Holocaust, people said never again. But unfortunately, those words have rung rather hollow, I think, because we are remembering not just the Jewish Holocaust tonight, but also, as Rebekka mentioned, the genocides in Rwanda, Bosnia, and at the moment, I've just been reading an article, actually, about Ethiopia, which is shocking, because apparently there have been terrible things going on there, the sort of government side, the Amharas, against the people who come from Tigray. Now, there is a reason for this. I understand there is a reason for this, but they've gone so far beyond what they should be doing. In fact, they now think of every single Tigrayan as an enemy, and they've been rounding people up, particularly the most vulnerable people, the old people, the women and children, putting them on lorries with no food, no water, and transporting them off to the east. And most of them have never been heard from since. Now, I think that rings a bell, doesn't it? Thinking about transports to the east and so on. And the men and the boys who were left behind have been taken to detention centres in the towns and hunted and killed if they've tried to escape. And apparently one witness described seeing a disabled man beaten to death in the street because he couldn't stand. So, these terrible things are still going on, and so we have to remember that as well. I don't know quite what we can do about it, really, but at least we shouldn't forget that there are still people suffering like that in the same way as they have done generations through since the Second World War. So I'd like to light the Shabbat candles now, and I will say, you shall call the Shabbat a delight. These lights we kindle are a symbol of joy. May their brightness lift our spirits and fill our hearts with happiness and peace. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu, lahadlik neshel Shabbat.
Amen.
I'd like to invite Seymour now, whose mother was a Holocaust survivor, to light the Yortzeit candle.
Thank you. We're going to begin the service with a melody, a lullaby from the Lodge ghetto. Ya la la ya la la, ya la la la, ya la 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 la, And we continue now on page 76 with Shalom Aleichem. Shalom Aleichem, Malachi Hasharet, Malachi Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachi HaMalachim, HaKadosh Baruch. And we continue on page 78. Souls beloved, source of mercy, draw your servant to your will. Let me leap like a deer to stand in awe before your glory. Your love is sweeter than the taste of honey. Yadid nefesh avachaman, Yadid nefesh avachaman, Mashachavtecha el ratzonecha, Mashachavtecha, ya la 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 la, el ratzonecha.
Show yourself, beloved, and spread over me the shelter of your peace. Illumine the world with your presence, and we will rejoice and be glad in you. Be gracious to us as in days of old.
Now I'm inviting the choir up onto the bima. And as we affirm the sanctity of each one of us, we also want to affirm with this song, Shed a Little Light, the connectedness that exists between us all. And the congregation should feel free to join in the chorus.
We now to turn to page 91 for the Baruch Hu, which is a slightly different one tonight. Oh, I'm sorry, sir, sorry. Yes, it is Lekado D, you're quite right.
Shabbat
We're on page 93, at the top of page 93. We praise you, eternal one, our God, sovereign of the universe, whose word brings on the evening, whose wisdom opens heaven's gates, whose understanding changes times and seasons, and whose will sets the stars in their courses in the sky. You make day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light. You make day pass and bring on the night, and separate day from night. You rule the hosts of heaven. We praise you, O God, whose word makes the evening fall.
Ahavat olam beit Yisrael, amcha ahavta, Torah u'mitzvot, chukim u'mishpatim, otanu limadata. Al ken Adonai Eloheinu, v'shochbeinu uvkumeinu, nasiach barukecha, v'nismach b'divrei Toratecha, כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו, ובהם נגה יומם ולילה. ובאהבתך אל תסור ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו ישראל.
Can we stand for the Shema, please? Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kavod Malkuto Le'olam Va'ed. ואהבת את
אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם, בשבתך ובמלכך, ולכתך בדרך, ושוכבך וקומך, וקומתם מאוד על ידך, והיו לצפות בין עיניך. כתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Please be seated. All this we hold to be true and sure. You alone, Eternal One, are our God, and we are Israel, your people. You have freed us from oppressors and delivered us from tyrants. You led us out of Egypt forever to serve you in freedom. When we witnessed your power, we praised your name and gave thanks. Willingly we accepted your rule. Then, full of joy, we sang together. And it has been said, the Eternal One has delivered Jacob and redeemed us from the hand of one stronger than ourselves. We praise you, O God, Redeemer of Israel.
Ashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leShalom V'ha'amidenu Malkeinu l'chaim Ufchos aleinu Sukat Shalom Echa V'taknenu b'eitza tova milfanecha בהושיענו למען שמך. Continue reading. Shield us from sickness and war, from famine and distress. Keep us from wrongdoing. Shelter us in the shadow of your wings, for you are our guardian and deliverer. A gracious and merciful God, guard our going out and our coming in, that now and always you may have life and peace. We praise you, O God. May your sheltering peace descend on us and all who dwell on earth. Please rise for the Amidah. Adonai sefertatita ufia hilatecha. Eternal God, open my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu. Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzhak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'er HaGadol, HaGibor HaNorah, El Elyon, Gomer Hasadim Tovim, V'kolei HaKol, V'zocher Hasei HaKol V'imachot. ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו אהבה. מלך עוזי ומושיע מגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ושרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, לחיי מתים עליו להושיע. משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מצליח השמש ומוריד הטל. מחכה מים בחסד, מחיי מתים ברחמים רבים, צורק נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו וישנה עפר. יבעמו קהל וגבורות, ומדרום אליו, מלמית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה. ונאמר אתה לחיות מתים, ברוך אתה אדוני, לחיי המתים. You are holy, awesome is your name, for we have no God but you. We praise you, eternal one, the holy God. Please be seated.
We thank you, O God, for this Sabbath day which calls us to a closer communion with you. Though you are near to us at all times, you reveal your presence most clearly when we direct our thoughts towards you in worship and meditation. In you, O God, our humanity is exalted. You are our life. From you come its greatness, its power, its beauty. Establish in us, we humbly pray, a devotion to you that shall be firm in all the circumstances of life. May this service renew in our hearts the sense of your presence and bring us peace.
We continue now in the middle of page 100. Adonai Eloheinu, ba'amaha Yisrael, u'tefilatam ba'ahava tekabel, u'tehi leratzon tamid avodat Yisrael. Amen. We give thanks that you, eternal one, are our God, as you were the God of our ancestors. Modim, modim, modim anachnu lach. Modim, modim, modim anachnu lach. You are the rock of our life, the power that shields us in every age. We thank and praise you for our lives, which are in your hand, for our souls, which are in your keeping, for the signs of your presence we encounter every day, and for your wondrous gifts at all times, morning, noon, and night. We praise you, O God, source of goodness, to whom our thanks are due. And we have a moment of quiet, silent prayer. Ratzon imrefi v'hegion libi lefanecha Adonai tzuri v'goali. Okay. So, as I was saying, every year, the Holocaust Memorial Day, the civic event, is really to gather together different communities. And they give us a theme. Every year there's a different theme. And this year the theme is one day. And they left it to people to interpret that as they would. And what was interesting for us when we spoke together and discussed those ideas, what does one day evoke, bring up for people, was the idea, of course, very much that it's something you think of for the future. One day, a sense of hope for the future. And so that was the starting point for us looking out for some songs that we'd like to contribute to this service. And but of course, then there's, and so we'll start off with that. But there is another side of that one day, that very particular day, that day of liberation in this case that we're commemorating. But what did that day bring? And what does any day of transformation have the potential to bring or not to bring? And what we're going to do is start off with a hopeful song. We're going to take the Bashana Haba'ah, which is a song that traditionally we sing at Rosh Hashanah. But I thought it was a really great idea of Jenny's that we bring this to the service tonight, because the text, the verses, which we're all going to read together, are so much about the hope that we know. Certainly we talked about this, and certainly from pictures of children in camps, that the hope, the nature, the kind of the hopes that people brought to their wish to survive and to keep going, and that we all feel sustained by nature. Okay, so we're going to start with that, and then we will have Sandra will be coming up to talk to us about one day, the workshops that they did, that KLS is always involved with every year for Holocaust Memorial Day, workshops in schools, and I'm just fascinated to hear what the secondary school young people, what they did with that theme one day. So let's start off with Bashana Haba'ah. So here you have it all there on the sheet here. And we're going to start off with a rather tacky start of, okay, where are we? Let's hurry up and enjoy it. We will sing, oh, it will be. Bashana, Bashana,
Next year, we will sit on the porch and count migrating birds. Children on vacation will play catch between the house and the fields. Next year, we will spread out our hands towards the radiant light. A white heron like a light will spread her wings, and within them the sun will rise. To follow on about the one day and the idea of liberation, I was thinking about this, and actually it was not easy for people. It wasn't suddenly, oh wow, I'm free, what a wonderful feeling. It was probably, I think, a sense of bewilderment. You know, people were in a terrible state physically and mentally. They didn't know whether their relatives were still alive. They didn't know if they had any homes to go back to. They really didn't know where they were. And so I think, you know, we have to think about that sort of side of it as well as the side of hope. And of course, these people eventually did have hope, but it was something really, really hard for them. So we're now going to sing.
We're just going to have, go on, Go on.
No, sorry, carry on.
No, what we're going to, now you're going to say about the Sakaki.
Yes, Sakaki. It is really a song of hope, I believe. Laugh at my dreams. And so, yes, it is somehow, even in spite of all the terrible feeling on that day that there must have been, as well as a sense of joy, people still had a hope and somehow a faith in humanity that their lives would get better. So this is what this song expresses.
I would like to ask Vince, will you just step forward and read the beginning, and then we're going to intersperse really some of the English translation. It's a poem actually by Tchaikovsky, written in 1894 from the Crimea at a time when, you know, we know that pogroms in that part of Russia, it was really a very difficult time for Jews. So it's a real statement of faith. Vince and Fleur are going to read the verses in between the psalm.
You may laugh at the dreams of which I, the dreamer, talk. Laugh, but I still have faith in humankind, just as I still believe in you.
For still my soul yearns for freedom. I have not sold it to the calf of gold, for I still have faith in humankind, in its spirit great and bold, that it shall hurl off the senseless chains and lift us to the heights above. Not of hunger shall a worker die, freedom to the soul, bread to the poor.
But I also have faith in friendship. I'll find a heart, in this I have faith, a heart that shares in all my hopes, a heart that feels both joy and pain. And I shall keep faith in the future. Even if the day may tarry, it shall come, when peace and blessing will be sent from one nation to another.
If Seymour would like to say a couple of words briefly about how his mum felt on the day of liberation.
Well, this week I've presented a story about my mother 5 times, so I know it off by heart. And the way I do it is my mother did this video of her experiences. And I think one of the things you said was very true, Jenny, that there are a lot of conflicting emotions. There was a sense of bewilderment, displacement, because people had moved around and were far from where they lived, not really knowing what to do next, because, that war had been such a disjunction of their lives that they didn't really know what to do next. And a sense of happiness, because there was a sense of hope for the future. And also, another thing that hasn't been mentioned is a sense of revenge. How am I going to get back on these horrible people that have been so cruel to me? So there was all these conflicting emotions. And it really took my mother didn't come to England till for 2 years, and her sisters didn't actually resolve their final place of living, which was Israel, until 1951. So they were in limbo for about 5 or 6 years. So there was a lot of conflicting feelings.
Thank you very much.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody. I had a quick peep to see who's out there. So I think there's Jill and Norman and Sandra and Paul and Maxine and Louisa and Liz and Deborah. And if I've forgotten anybody else, lovely for you to be with us. So I was going to say something about what we've been doing with schools. In case you don't know, every year since 2006, except last year when there was a pandemic, we have been running, jointly with our neighbouring shul, the Orthodox shul down the road, a programme of Holocaust Memorial Day workshops for nearly all the secondary schools in the area. I think Flo was in from the beginning. It started off with maybe 2 schools.
One school. Yeah.
One school, and it's built up and up. And last year we had to cancel because of the pandemic. And this year, despite the challenges of COVID still being around, we were back in action. Although normally we invite the school groups into one of the 2 synagogues. But because of COVID safety, this time we doing a kind of road show where we're doing it in the schools. Anyway, by the end of next week, 7 schools and over 1,000 students will have taken part this year. So it's that kind of number every year. These are students about age 13 to 14, and we have about 50 volunteers who help run this project. And it's not just a history lesson, it's really providing an opportunity for young people to talk about the implications for themselves and for the future, as well as hearing personal stories and lighting memorial candles and so on. Anyway, what did we do with the theme of one day? Because every year, nationwide, a theme is set for Holocaust Memorial Day. Last year it was Be the Light in the Darkness, for example. One year it was Stand Together. This year it was One Day. So in all of these events that we run with schools, which last about half a day, they have a main speaker, which is either a Holocaust survivor, and we do still have some people in their 80s and 90s who are fit and well enough to talk to schools, or we have people like Seymour who've taken over the work of their parent, who's unfortunately passed on now, and are telling their parents' story. So this year we asked, before the speaker started, we asked the teenagers to listen out for one day, listen out in the tale of what happened for one day that was particularly significant and changed the whole course of that person's life. And it proved to be quite a good focus for getting teenagers to listen to a talk that may be 30 or 45 minutes long. Afterwards, we break into smaller discussion groups, and they have been able to identify those turning points in somebody's life, which might have been the day when they were excluded from school in Germany for being Jewish, or the day they were separated from their parents and never saw them again, or the day they got on a train for the kinder transport, or a day when they were liberated, or a day when they met their spouse. So it could be a day where things change for the worse, or a day where things change for the better. Maybe a day where they found out many years later what had happened to their loved ones, because of course people have spent decades trying to find out in some cases. So then, but we also asked them to consider one day from the point of view of any rescuers. Of course, not everybody had a rescuer, but if you think of Anne Frank and the many, many hidden children, somebody decided to hide them. And that one day was also a turning point for that person, because how did that change their life? Put their whole family in danger. They had to kind of live some kind of lie and risk their life. And then we've gone on to talk about one day in the future when there'll be no more genocide. How can we reach that point? What can we do in our communities, in our schools, in our small way towards that? And we talk about just respecting other people's differences, because we try to get over the message that genocides don't actually start with mass murder. They end with mass murder. They always start with discrimination, name-calling, cartoons, propaganda, separation, being banned from doing things that are quite minor, like going to the cinema, and it builds up and up. So we've really tried to get across to them that nip any such racism in the bud, because you can now see where it's led to for ordinary people whom you've met. And it has such an impact that they've actually met somebody. It's not a textbook. They've met somebody, a normal person, who was affected by the Holocaust. So that's just to give you a bit of an inkling of what we do. If anybody hasn't volunteered, next year is coming around in a year's time.
Thank you, Sandra.
Thank you so much, Sandra. It was absolutely great. I think that was really great to hear. The task that you gave, the exercises that you brought to it, thinking about that, I think. I don't know whether anybody, we thought it might, if anybody wanted to say anything, since we're here together, anybody's got any thoughts or responses to what Sandra said? It's a moment for a bit of discussion or just...
I think it's awesome what they do every year.
Absolutely. Awesome, it is awesome.
Sandra in particular.
Yeah, absolutely.
Without them.
I think I'd like to volunteer. Really
And
awesome.
They don't like taking the credit, but they should.
Well, on that theme, I think it's about of bridge building, and I think this whole day of the Holocaust Memorial Day seems to me so much about building connections across communities, across generations, so much about that. So we thought we'd finish this part of the service with Kol Ha'olam Kulo, the whole world, the whole of it. I think you have it on your sheet, maybe. Gesher Tzar Ma'od is a narrow bridge. The whole world is a narrow bridge. And V'ha'ikar, I've had a real rabbinic translation on this. V'ha'ikar, the principle, the essence of it is lo lefached klal, is to not be overwhelmed by any of it, all of it, by it. It's not to be overwhelmed by. And I think that's a challenge, isn't it, for us when we think about genocide? Even saying the word makes you feel uncomfortable. So let's sing this song together. Please join us on the live streaming in your homes if you can.
Oh
Thank you, choir. Thank you so much. If you'd like to come off the beam now, and we'll just finish the service. Who's going to go first? Gents before ladies, absolutely.
It's easier for them.
Easier for them. Thanks very much. Thank you. So, okay. So we're finishing now the service. We turn to the Aleinu on page 520. If you'd like to stand, please. Aleinu lishabeach yadon hakol, lateit gidula liyotzei bereshit, asher sam velkel yacheret shamo, v'amo aleinu v'namid malchuto, v'anachnu korim, u'mishtachavim u'modim, לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. On the top of page 521, reading all together, the first paragraph. Trusting in you, eternal God, we hope soon to behold the glory of your might, when false gods will vanish from our hearts and idolatry cease forever. Help us to perfect the world by bringing it under your unchallenged rule, when all will invoke your name, relinquish evil, and turn to you alone. May all who are on earth, carry on reading, come to know that to you every knee must bend, and every tongue swear loyalty. Before you let them humble themselves, and to your glorious name let them give you honour. Let all submit to your sovereign rule, and may that time come soon and last forever. For ultimate sovereignty is yours, and to all eternity you will reign in glory. As it is written, the Eternal One shall reign forever. V'nema v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz bayom hahu bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad u'shamo
Page 522. The growing good of the world is partly dependent on unhistoric acts, and that things are not so ill with you and me as they might have been is half owing to the number who lived faithfully a hidden life and rest in unvisited tombs. Even when they are gone, the departed are with us. They inspire us to live as in their higher moments they themselves sought to live. We remember them now. They remain in our hearts. They are a continual blessing. And tonight we remember Peggy Lewis, mother of Barbara Richards, Max Sussman, father of Sybil Hickman, and Eric Hickman, husband of Sybil Hickman, Flora Kiverstein, mother of Keith Kiverstein, and Liam Humphreys, friend of Daniel Bates. And I'd like to remember my friend Veronica, whose birthday would have been tomorrow. Anybody else have a name that we'd like to mention tonight? So we all say together, Kaddish, also for those who have been victims of genocide in the past and the present since the Shoah.
Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, v'almad yvrach chutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon v'yom yechon, v'chayi d'chol beit Yisrael, v'agalam zman kariv v'nvu amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam u'lalmei almaya, יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא. יתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי קודשה בריחו. לעילמין כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, תאמירן בעלמה ואמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיים, וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ועל כל בני אדם, ואמרו אמן. Please be seated.
We conclude with the French Sephardi Adon-Olam, which I'm sure everybody knows by now, because it's quite cheerful and nice to end the service with. So.
Adon Olam Hashem Malach B'terem Kol Yetzir Nivra La'ed Nasa V'hefzo Kol Azai Melech Shamo Nikra Azai Melech Shamo Nikra Ve'acharei Kichlot HaKol Levado Yimloch Noah V'hu Haya V'hu Hoveh V'hu Yiyeh B'tifara V'hu Yiyeh B'tifara V'hu Echad V'ein Sheni Laham Shilo Lahapira Bali Reshit Bali Tachlit V'lo Ha'oz V'ha'misra V'lo Ha'oz V'ha'misra V'hu Eli V'chai Go'ali V'tzorev li B'eit Tzara V'hu nisi Umanos li Manat kosi V'yom ekra Manat kosi V'yom ekra B'yado apid uchi V'eit ishan V'ha'ira V'imruchi Gaviati Adonai li V'lo ira Adonai li V'lo ira. I would just like to thank everybody. Jenny, thank you so much. Sandra and Seymour, thank you very much. And the choir for all the rehearsal time, all the efforts and the wonderful singing. New choir members who we mentioned in November, but we now have 3 new members. We're absolutely delighted. And I'd like to thank Nicola, who also over with the tech over there, but who's also planning to join the choir. So I don't know, Craig, you're going to have to, I don't know how she's going to have to, how's that going to work? Thanks to everybody who was here today in the sanctuary, because it's nice to have that so much. And we thank everybody on live streaming, and Shabbat Shalom. Thank you very much. It's been a real pleasure. These monthly call Shabbats are a lovely and really lovely special time to prepare. Thanks very much. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
All done? Is that all done? So Kiddush in the...